River spirit, if you really exist, make me beautiful so that men can love me and marry me. I am tired of being ignored. I can give you a beauty that no one in this village has ever seen. Your face will attract all eyes. Men will pursue you like butterflies pursue light. And the love you ask for will come too. But each gift of the spirits must be balanced. When your first child will come into the world, it will belong to me. And if I never have children, then I would have nothing to take. I accept.
A wave broke out of the water and smashed the face of Hadisewa. The water was frozen. When she opened her eyes again, the luminous silhouette was already disappearing in the river. Her voice resonated one last time in the night. The pact is sealed. The days that followed, Hadisewa tried to chase this idea out of her mind. She continued her life as before. She got up before sunrise to sweep the yard, help her mother prepare food, and walk every morning to the market with a basket on her head. But something had changed. Since she had heard the old women talk about the spirit of the river, her thoughts kept coming back to this story. Every time she went to get water from the river during the day, she looked at the calm surface of the water with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The river seemed normal. Women washed their clothes there. Children played near the rocks. Fishermen cast their nets. Nothing made you think that an ancient spirit lived under this dark water. But in the traditions of the village, everyone knew one thing. The river was not the same at night. The ancients had always repeated the same rule. When the moon is high and the roaches sleep, no one must walk to the river. It was said that midnight was the hour of the spirits. And despite all the stories told to frighten young people, some people continued to disappear from time to time in the legends of the village. Hadisewa knew these stories. She had grown up hearing them. But now, instead of scaring her, she gave her hope. Every evening, she watched young couples walking together in the alleys of the village. She saw girls her age laugh, receive compliments, and talk about their future marriage. And every evening, she felt a heavier weight in her heart. One night, after a big party organized to celebrate a marriage, Hadisewa returned home alone. The drums were still ringing in the distance. The songs, laughter, and applause filled the warm air of the night. She passed in front of the village square, where the young people were still dancing. No one looked at her. No one even noticed that she was passing by. She kept walking home, but instead of entering, she stopped in front of the courtyard. The wind of the night was calm. The moon was shining in the sky, and suddenly she felt that something in her had just broken. The words of the old women came back to her memory. The river can offer beauty, love. She slowly raised her eyes towards the direction where the river was. The path leading there crossed a small forest of trees. For a few minutes, she remained still. She knew that what she was about to do was forbidden. The elders had warned everyone. No one should approach the river at midnight. But in Hadisewa's heart, another thought had become stronger than fear. If I stay as I am, my life will never change. Finally, she made a decision that no one in the village would have approved. She waited for her mother to fall asleep. Then she quietly left the house. The village was plunged into silence. The lamps had gone out one by one. Only the insects and the distant sound of water could be heard. Hadisewa walked slowly on the dirt path. Her bare feet raised the red dust. The closer she got to the river, the faster her heart beat. The wind moved the leaves of the trees around her. The moonlight illuminated the dark surface of the water. When she finally reached the edge of the river, she stopped. In front of her, the water seemed dark and deep. For a moment, she hesitated. Maybe all this was just a story made up to frighten the children. Maybe nothing would happen. But she had already done all this. Then, she knelt slowly on the edge of the water. Her hands trembled slightly. She closed her eyes, and with an almost inaudible voice she murmured, "Spirit of the river, if you really exist, listen to me." The silence suddenly became heavier. The air seemed to cool down, and a few seconds later, the surface of the water began to move. At the moment when Hadesewa's last words were lost in the air of the night, a strange silence fell on the banks of the river. The insects stopped singing. The wind stopped. Even the leaves of the trees around the water became still, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Hadesewa felt her heart beating so hard that she could almost hear it in her chest. For a few seconds, nothing happened. She suddenly thought she had made a mistake, that the old women of the market were only telling stories to frighten the young people. But then, the surface of the river trembled. At first, it was a small movement, as if a fish was swimming under the water. Then the waves became stronger. The water began to boil slowly, forming circles that widened towards the shore where Hadesewa was kneeling. She moved back slightly, shivering. The moon was reflected in the dark water, but its reflection suddenly broke into 1,000 pieces as something began to rise from the depths. The water opened slowly, as if the river was breathing. Then a pale light appeared under the surface. This light became stronger, clearer, closer, and finally a silhouette began to emerge from the water. Hadesewa felt fear gripping her throat. The silhouette slowly rose above the surface of the river, as if the water itself was carrying it. It was the spirit of the river. Her body seemed made of both water and light. Her skin shone like the surface of the river under the moon. Long, dark hair floated around her, like algae carried by the current. Her eyes were deep and strange, like two wells filled with black water. When she spoke, her voice did not sound loud or soft. It sounded like the sound of water flowing between stones. "Who is calling me at night?" Hadesewa felt her hands trembling, but she remained on her knees. She knew that if she fled now, she would never be able to return. She took a deep breath. "It's me." To be continued.